Hello, real estate enthusiasts. Although I'm a monster, not a monster. Therefore, I've put up the topics we're covering today on the board, with the absolute bite-sized bare bones definitions to save you time if you're cramming in your car right before the exam. Feel free to pause. But like Jack Reacher always says, details matter. So if you're serious about this industry and ready to understand just a wee bit more with some practical, real-world examples, here we go. Welcome back to our video series where we serve up fresh real estate concepts like a pro chef slicing through an onion, layer by layer, and hopefully without any tears. Today we're diving into the world of contracts. By the end of this video, you'll be able to distinguish express contracts from implied ones. You'll know the difference between unilateral and bilateral agreements, and we'll also quickly go over executed and executory. So stick around, because we got some exclusive sample questions for our paid users at nightbeforetheexam.com. Before we start, let's quickly clear up some common contract lingo in real estate. Mutual consent, offer and acceptance, and the meeting of the minds. Mutual consent means everyone agrees on the terms. Offer and acceptance are the steps where one party makes an offer and the other accepts it. The meeting of the minds ensures that everyone is on the same page about the deal. You will often see these terms used interchangeably, but there are some tiny distinctions. Think of it like a dessert party. Everyone wants pie, right? Mutual consent is when we all agree on having pie. Offer and acceptance? Well, that is me offering you a slice, and you saying, yes please, and I'll pay for it. The meeting of the minds is crucial, making sure we're all thinking apple pie, and not pumpkin. So, to sum up this section, you, the viewer, agree to like, subscribe, and visit nightbeforetheexam.com. And in return, I promise to keep making these fun tutorials. That's our mutual consent. My offer? More awesome videos. Your acceptance. Clicking those buttons. And we've got a meeting of the minds, because we all agree that this is a sweet deal. We'll hit that like button and subscribe, so YouTube will actually rank these videos, so that others can see and benefit from them. First up, express contracts. Think of these like a recipe. Each ingredient and step is laid out clearly, leaving no room for guesswork. Whether in writing or verbally, everything is explicitly stated. For example, when you sign a listing agreement with a seller, you've got a classic express contract. So it's like following a recipe where you agree to market their property and in return they agree to pay you a commission upon a successful sale. It's important to note that while verbal agreements are indeed enforceable in many states, their reliability can be less certain than written ones. The enforceability of verbal express contracts varies widely, with some states requiring specific types of real estate contracts. This is why most professionals prefer written contracts. They provide clear evidence of the terms agreed upon and are far easier to enforce legally. Now, on the flip side, we have implied contracts. These are a bit like friendships. Often, nothing is formally written down or explicitly stated, but both parties understand and act as if there's an agreement based on their actions. For example, imagine a situation where you've been informally helping someone find a home. You show them properties and discuss potential offers. Even without a written agreement, your ongoing involvement and their reliance on your advice could imply an agency relationship. Implied contracts can be tricky because they're based on actions, not written terms. This can lead to misunderstandings about each person's responsibilities. For example, if you start negotiating for a buyer without a clear agreement and later try to claim a commission, you could end up in a serious disagreement. If it escalates and spirals out of control, You might even need to go to court at some point to figure out if an implied contract was actually created. And let's be honest, that would be super uncomfortable. So, whether you're dealing with express contracts as clear as a well detailed recipe or navigating the less defined waters of implied contracts like unspoken friendships, it's crucial to understand the implications of each. Always aim for clarity in your agreements to ensure smooth real estate transactions. For those who thrive on explicit details, stick with express contracts whenever possible, especially in real estate, to avoid potential disputes and legal headaches. Next up, let's dissect unilateral and bilateral contracts. A unilateral contract is a one-way street. It's like saying, if you do this, I'll do that. One party makes a promise, and the other party performs an act to accept. Imagine this. The host says, if you bring a chocolate babka to the dinner party, I'll give you a special bottle of wine as a gift. This is a classic unilateral contract. Only the host makes a promise, and you only receive the gift if you bring the babka. On a side note, none of this cinnamon babka business. It has to be chocolate, according to the Book of Wifelations 1:1. It is not dessert if it is not chocolate. And of course, feel free to let my wife know she's wrong in the comments. Now, in real estate, a common example of a unilateral contract is an option contract. Here, a seller promises to keep a property available for a buyer at a certain price for a specific period. The seller makes the promise, and the buyer can choose to act on it by deciding to purchase within that time frame. In contrast, a bilateral contract is a two-way street. Both parties make promises to each other. Most real estate contracts are bilateral. For example, a purchase agreement. I promise to sell you this property, and you promise to pay me $300,000. Okay, wait. That is an incredible deal. In what world could you snag a property for that amount? I'd pay more than that for the 10 different streaming subscriptions that I needed to replace cable TV. Anyway, I better keep it between the navigational beacons here, because I'm sure it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and get back to my point, which is that in this example of a bilateral contract, both the buyer and the seller are bound by their promises, creating mutual obligations. To give another real-world example, think about a listing agreement. As an agent, you promise to market and sell the property, and the seller promises to pay you a commission if you succeed. Both parties have clear mutual commitments. So remember, unilateral contracts are based on one-sided promises, while bilateral contracts involve mutual commitments. Understanding these distinctions is crucial for navigating your real estate exam and career successfully. Alright, now let's talk about executed versus executory contracts in real estate. Think of an executed contract like finishing a big Thanksgiving dinner. All the cooking and eating are done, and now it's time to relax, and possibly for my relatives to discover that I might have sleep apnea. In real estate terms, an executed contract means all the terms have been fulfilled by everyone involved. For example, you've sold a house, the deed is transferred, and everyone's been paid. On the other hand, an executory contract is like the lead up to that big dinner. You're still marinating the turkey, baking the pies, and setting the table. There's work yet to be done. In real estate, this means some obligations are still pending. Imagine you've signed a purchase agreement, but the closing date is a month away. The contract is executory until all the conditions are met and the deal is closed. Here's a real-world example for your exam. You have a buyer under contract to purchase a home. They've completed the inspection, but the financing hasn't been finalized yet. The contract remains executory until all the conditions, like securing a mortgage, are fulfilled. Another example. You've signed a listing agreement with a seller. You've marketed the property and found a buyer, but the closing process is still underway. This agreement is executory until the sale is officially closed and the seller gets their money. Remember, executed contracts are like that post-dinner bliss, all done. Executory contracts are still in the kitchen, prepping for the big meal. Understanding the difference between these two is key to navigating real estate transactions smoothly. And there you have it, a quick tour through some contract basics like express versus implied, unilateral versus bilateral, and executed versus executory. Don't forget that users over at nightbeforetheexam.com get to try out exclusive sample questions tailored to this video. It's a great way to test what you've learned today and sharpen your skills. Thanks for watching, stay knowledgeable, and stay professional. See you in the next video.